everyone, welcome back to my kitchen. As you saw in the title, we are making homemade gnocchi today. I'm super excited about it. It's another cold, dreary, and gloomy day, and I'm just really craving some sort of comfort food. Pasta in general is that for me, but especially gnocchi. I love it. So I had some leftover sweet potatoes from my garden that had started to go soft on me and were starting to sprout, so I figured it'd be a good way to use them up. So I'm doing half with sweet potatoes and the other half just your traditional, this is just a white potato gnocchi. And I figured while I'm at it, I'm gonna make a few batches and I'm gonna freeze some for convenience later, and then also I'm gonna use it in our dinner tonight, which I'm gonna bring you all along for. I've got something fun planned, and all I've done thus far is just roast the potatoes. As you saw, I'm taking them out of the skins. I think the proper way to go about this is to use a potato eraser, which I do not own. So I am just gonna make sure to mash them up really well, and then we are going to get working on making the dough. Okay, so I've got 2 bowls of mashed potatoes, and the recipe that I'm using is super simple. It is just for every 1 cup of potatoes, you're gonna add 1 cup of flour and a teaspoon of salt. Super simple. I'm not really sure how many cups of potatoes I have here, so I need to figure that out, but I'm going to get the appropriate amounts all mixed together, start working with this dough, and getting the gnocchi shaped. So I ended up with about 4 cups of mashed potatoes. So to that I added 4 cups of flour. I chose to use 2 cups of einkorn and 2 cups of an organic white wheat. And then I added in 4 teaspoons of salt. I do want to say that for the sweet potato gnocchi, I needed to use about 1.5 cups more flour to actually get it to come together in a nice dough that was not terribly sticky. The sweet potatoes just have much higher moisture content, so I had to account for that and add some more flour. Once the dough was well combined, I portioned it out into easier to handle amounts, and I took each portion and I rolled it out into a nice long snake, about 1/2 inch to 1 inch wide, and then I cut about the same size, 1/2 inch to 1 inch little pieces. Now you can leave the gnocchi just like this and go ahead and cook it. If you want to be a little bit extra, a little more fancy, this is a gnocchi board, and as you roll the gnocchi down it gives it these nice little ridges. It's supposed to help it hold on to sauces better, but totally not necessary. If you would like to be a little bit more fancy, I will link it down in the description for you all. For the gnocchi that I decided to freeze, I put it on a parchment-lined cookie sheet that I put in the freezer so they could freeze in a single layer before putting them all together in a bag for longer-term storage. Okay, so just in case anyone is interested, I am starting my sweet potato slips right now, and I figured I would show you how I do it. So there's 2 methods. You can submerge half of a sweet potato in water, or you can put them in soil. So first off, something to consider when sourcing your sweet potato to start sweet potato slips. I grew these myself, so I know they have not been sprayed with anything. If you are purchasing a sweet potato from a store and it is not organic, it's very likely that they've been sprayed with a sprout inhibitor, so it prevents them from doing just that. It prevents them from forming these sprouts, which in turn gives them a longer shelf life. So it's hit or miss. if that has been done to a non-organic sweet potato at the store. So your best bet would be to just purchase an organic sweet potato to start your slips. With that said, so let me show you an example here. Typically, now sometimes it's hard to tell, but you can see aside from this stem here, this is a more rounded end, and this here is more tapered, pointier. So typically this end, the pointier end, is going to be your rooting end, so roots will form here, and this rounded end up here is going to be your sprouting end, which you can see it has started to sprout. So rounded end goes above water, rooting end, this tapered end, goes in the water. So I just took some toothpicks all the way around to keep it balanced and to prevent the whole thing from dropping into the water. Mason jar full of filtered water, non-chlorinated water, and I am just going to put that in there. And then roots will start to form down through here. These slips will start to grow and develop long stems, eventually leaves. And then once they reach a certain size, like these are gonna get pretty tall, you can start to trim them off and then put them in water, and they will develop their own roots, and then that is what you put out in the garden to grow sweet potatoes. So ideally you wanna leave at least 60 to 90 days of growing time for these slips to start growing and then to root the slips as well. I typically plan out like mid-May. You want to make sure there is zero threat of frost. They cannot handle any frost. So I have 4 that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to put 2 in this soil here. This is just my seed starting mix. And you just take your sweet potato and you just kind of put it down in there in the dirt. You don't want to fully cover it. And then you're just gonna keep this soil nice and moist, not soaking wet. And then the roots will develop down below and the slips will start to come off around the tops and the ends. So I haven't really noticed a difference in success between these two methods of water and dirt. I've just been doing each one just in case for some reason one method does not do as great as the other from year to year. So like I said, I've got 4 of these going. I'm hoping that that will produce enough slips for my garden goals of 75 pounds of sweet potatoes this year. So I'm gonna get these on my windowsill and I'm gonna keep you guys posted on how they do. For dinner, I am not using any set recipe. I just had some things in my fridge that needed to be used up. So I am slicing some mushrooms and tomatoes and spinach. And I'm getting a pound of ground sausage, pork sausage, in my frying pan. This is just like a breakfast sausage, so it's heavier on the sage. I thought that would complement the sweet potato gnocchi well. So after that was all browned, I removed it from the pan and I deglazed the pan with some white wine, about a quarter cup or so, scraping up all those good bits that got stuck to the bottom of the pan. To that, I added my chopped mushrooms with some butter and some minced garlic. Now I decided I wanted more of a creamy, thicker sauce, so I decided to start off with making a roux, which is equal parts flour to butter. Let that cook up a little bit. And then you slowly add in some sort of liquid. I am using some chicken broth here, and I'm adding it in slowly. That way it creates a nice smooth sauce and you don't get any like chunky bits in it. used in total about a cup of broth, and I used 2 tablespoons of butter and 2 tablespoons of flour. Hey baby, you want to eat? To this, I slowly added in about a cup of heavy cream. I wanted this to be a little bit more of a cheesy sauce, so I shredded some Parmesan cheese and put that in as well. I added in my chopped spinach, and I did actually end up adding in about another half cup of white wine. The sauce was just a little bit too thick for my preferences. Seasoned with just a little bit of salt. Added back in all of my sausage. Mixed everything up, and I also added in my cherry tomatoes. Now to cook our gnocchi. I'm boiling a pot of water here and carefully adding in my gnocchi. Super easy thing about cooking gnocchi is as soon as it starts to float to the surface of the water, you know it's done. So I think it only took about a minute for it to start floating. So I went ahead with my mesh strainer and got all of the ones that were done out of there and just transferred them over into a colander. You guys, you have to try making your own gnocchi. It was so good. We all enjoyed it so much. I will definitely continue to do this. It was so easy too. And this recipe turned out great. I will put a more detailed recipe in the description for you all if you'd like to try it. It was definitely tastier than it looked. The sauce did not turn out visually how I had hoped it would, but it was still very tasty. So I hope you all enjoyed coming along with me today in the kitchen. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one. Take care.